Hello everybody, Mobius Y here with another video for Stellaris Console Edition, and today's video is, le gasp, an Empire build video. It's been a hot minute since I've done one of these. In fact, I didn't do a single one throughout all of 2020, I don't think, and the last one was done in version 1.7, so with all of the old Empire builds completely obsolete, I figured I'd try bringing these back and see if people enjoyed them, and if people watch them and want to see me do more, I will definitely be bringing them back throughout 2021, as I can come up with some additional Empire build ideas that could be floating around my brain and share them with you guys to try out for yourselves. But before we jump into this particular video, if you would like to see more Stellaris Console Edition content, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified whenever I upload an additional video. The goal for 2021 is to try to have my channel hit 10,000 subscribers. So the best things you could do to help me out with that is to hit that red subscribe button if you like my content, and try to share it with other people who you think might enjoy this content, whether they're playing Stellaris Console Edition or if you're trying to convince them to try it out for themselves. The more people playing this game, the better, as I think this game is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so let's start off by talking about what the point of this particular Empire build was. I simply wanted to try to maximize the efficiency of Empire Edicts, as it says over here in the biography. Empire Edicts, baby. So everything that I designed the Empire around was about reducing the cost of Empire Edicts and extending their duration as much as possible. That's how these Empire builds tend to go. I come up with an idea in my mind, and I go, I wonder what it would be like to try and build an Empire focused around maximizing this kind of productivity, or maximizing the use of this particular mechanic, so on and so forth. And this one is all about those Empire Edicts. So the Empire name is Holy Dict, the name is for the species, is Dict, and the plural is Dicton, and the adjective is Dicthead. Trying to do a little play on words there. So starting off with the species traits for this Empire build, there weren't any that really stood out because there's no particular traits that come to mind in order to help out with your Empire Edicts, but there were two that I decided to select because they will help out with acquiring edicts as well as being able to activate them sooner. The first one is Natural Sociologists. This will increase your society research from jobs by plus 15%, so you're raking in just a little bit more society research from your researchers or from any other jobs that produce society research, for example, priests, which will be used in this particular Empire build. The society technology tree does have a couple ways of unlocking additional edicts. For example, there is one very early tech that unlocks the campaigns, which cost you energy, and they do things like increase your pop growth speed or increase your unity production, stuff like that. And then the other one is the very late game technology Ascension Theory, which gives you basically your 8th Ascension perk that you won't get from unlocking traditions. And by getting Ascension Theory, you also gain access to the very late game Unity Ambitions, which are very powerful Empire Edicts that cost you a significant portion of unity. So in order to get those sooner rather than later, I figured taking Natural Sociologists would help out with that in this particular Empire build. And as you can see, the second trait was Traditional. This gives you plus 10% unity from jobs so that you can unlock those traditions a little bit faster and get your Ascension perks just a little bit quicker. Because there's one particular Ascension perk that you want to get as soon as possible, as it adds a very significant bonus to the duration of your Empire Edicts. So those are the species traits. Now, the appearance of this particular species, I was using some of the options for the Humanoids DLC, going with that Cyclopean kind of appearance option. If you don't have the Humanoids DLC, that's perfectly fine. Use whatever kind of species portrait you want, whatever kind of ship appearance and city appearance you want. It really doesn't have a significant impact whatsoever on the game. The name lists, I went with Humanoid 4, and the ship prefix is Dict, and the ruler is King Richard, and starting off with a male in room 17, and the air title is Saint. Let's take a look at their homeworld really quick. The homeworld name is Big Edict, and the star name, is Bright Edict, starting in a random trinary, and our homeworld is a continental world, so that we are a little more, we have a little higher habitability bonuses on the wet climate worlds, including tropical and ocean. And of course, the city appearance is a humanoid city, and a couple other Empire options was the humanoid ship appearance, as I mentioned earlier. And the advisor voice, I just stick with the original advisor voice these days. And I'm fairly certain I randomized the appearance of the emblem and the background colors, so you can choose them whenever you want. But as I said, the Empire name is Holy Dict, and the adjective is Dictorobian. So let's take a look at the government and ethics, which is the real bread and butter for a lot of these Empire builds, and in particular this one. So the authority I had to go with was an imperial authority, and the reason for that is you can only have a dictatorial or imperial authority when you're partially authoritarian, which is one of our 2 edicts, and it's a requirement for one of our 2 starting civics. So our ethics, as mentioned, we went with partial authoritarian. You can't use the democratic government form, so we stuck with imperial. And being authoritarian does help you out just a little bit with activating more Empire Edicts, because you get 0.5 additional influence per month at the very start of the game. That will actually help you out a little bit, because a lot of the Empire Edicts do cost you a significant portion of influence, and when you're earning a little bit more each month, you can activate them just that much more often. And then the other government ethic was fanatic spiritualism. This increases monthly unity generation by another plus 20%, so this tacks on quite nicely with the traditional species trait that we chose earlier, giving us a total of plus 30% monthly unity right at the start of the game, and it reduces the costs of our Empire Edicts by minus 10%. Oh, I just bumped the mic, whoops. So this reduces, if it's something like Map the Stars, which normally only costs about 100 influence, now it's only costing 90 influence. For the more expensive edicts, it is dropping the costs by quite a significant portion. But we're not done there. The 2 starting civics, the very first one is Cutthroat Politics, which reduces the costs of your edicts by an additional 20%, for a total of a 30% reduction in the cost of activating an edict. So, as I said, a good example is Map the Stars, which normally costs 100 influence. This will now only cost 70 influence at the very start of the game. And the second starting civic that I went with was Imperial Cult, because this increases the duration of edicts by an additional 25%. By default, edicts tend to only last about 10 years, so this should add another 2.5 years. It winds up saying in-game that the Empire Edicts at the start of the game are lasting 13 years and 6 months at the very start of a game. So not only are they cheaper for you to activate, but they're also lasting longer, which gives you more time to produce the resources or generate the resources necessary to reactivate the edicts when they run out, whether that's influence or various strategic resources like terraforming gases or the rare crystals, or not terraforming gases, exotic gases, excuse me. So by increasing the generation of your influence, reducing the cost of the edicts, and making them last longer, you're far more likely to be able to activate them whenever you want, and they can be very helpful. Some of the Empire Edicts are quite powerful and can be used at the very start of the game. So, to summarize, the starting species traits were natural sociologists and traditional. We went with an imperial government type, and our ethics are partial authoritarian and fanatic spiritualist, with our starting civics as Cutthroat Politics and Imperial Cult. So with that, let's jump into the save game files that I have. As with previous Empire build videos, we'll be taking a look at the very start of the game when we first load into the galaxy. Then we'll be jumping to the 20-year mark in the galaxy, seeing how I was doing with the development of the Empire. And then the last save state we'll be looking at will be 50 years into the game. And basically just where the mid-game would be starting off in a regular kind of default game environment. Taking a look at the save state there, and from that point it's up to you to try out this particular Empire build yourself and see what you can do. So let's go ahead and load up the very beginning of the game. Okay, so here we are in our home system of Bright Edict. As I said, I was starting off in a random trinary star system, so we've got 2 stars and a little brown dwarf in this trinary. Pretty interesting. So looking around right away, there is another source of energy credits that I wouldn't mind constructing a mining station around, but we've also got this gas giant, which would be a decent source of additional engineering research. So we're going to take our construction ship over there to build that research station right away, bringing in a little bit of additional engineering research per month. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our Empire capital. Not too sure what would be a good idea for the first building to construct, but of course we can't construct any since we have 0 resources. A temple would be okay because priests produce quite a bit of amenities per job, but they also produce additional society research and unity production. And both of those have production bonuses to them. So we probably want to try to get a temple online as quickly as possible. Now, one thing I do want to note is that the bonuses to our Empire Edicts by reducing their cost and increasing their duration, does not apply to planetary decisions. Those are a very different thing entirely. It would be nice if Empire Edicts did carry, if the bonuses to Empire Edicts did carry over to your planetary decisions, but they're two separate entities. So by enhancing your Empire Edicts, you're not doing the same to your planetary decisions. So do be aware of that. But we'll want to activate Encourage Planetary Growth as soon as possible. It'll cost 1,000 food, so that'll be quite a ways before we can do that. We'll take a look at our policies. Trade policy, wealth creation. We may want to change that to Marketplace of Ideas so that we're getting a little bit more unity. We're only getting 3.76 additional energy credits from trade, so we'll change the trade policy, to a Marketplace of Ideas, and our food policy to Nutritional Plenitude, which will increase the food upkeep of our pops by 25%, but increase their happiness by 5%, and their pop growth speed, which is the most important one, by an additional 10%. So we'll change those policies right away, and our initial border status we will obviously want closed. Those are typically the things that I take a look at the start of every game. Now, let's also take a look at our edicts. As you can see, some of them are pretty dang cheap. Declare Saint, which would increase our monthly unity by an additional plus 15%, which is quite a significant bonus. We'd be looking at about 45% bonus unity per month throughout the Empire. We will want to activate that as soon as possible, but a good one to start off the game with would be Map the Stars, because we have 100 influence at the start of the game, and this only costs 70, and it's going to last 13 years and 6 months. It will give our science ships plus 25% survey speed and a plus 10% chance to discover new anomalies, and the anomalies can be really awesome because they can give us some bonus resources. As you can see, a lot of these other things are pretty cheap as well. Exotic gases as fuel for additional sublight speed, and that will help your ships fly around a little bit faster. It's only costing 41.5 exotic gases, so fairly cheap Empire Edicts at the very start of the game. But obviously, since you do not have any resources whatsoever, you cannot activate them just yet. Now let's take a look at our traditions. Typically, I say start with expansion or discovery, and when you complete one of those, you tend to want to start the other one as soon as possible. For this particular game, I'm going to start with expansion in order to be able to increase the speed that we get our colonies online and developed. But right after that, I'm going to want to go into the domination tradition tree. Now, you might be asking, why would you want to do that? The domination tradition tree ain't that good. Increasing governor level cap by 2, increasing your ruler level cap by 2, not really that big of a deal. The two nice things are the plus 5% resource output from workers and slaves. That's actually pretty good. But the main thing that we're shooting for is the finisher effect of the domination tradition tree, where it increases our monthly influence production by 1 throughout the entire empire. So right now we're producing 3.5 influence per month because, as I said, we're partial authoritarian. So that's giving us the extra 0.5. And by completing the domination tradition tree, we will be generating 4.5 influence per month, which is a decent amount. It will help us be able to reactivate these Empire Edicts, some of the ones that cost influence, for example, Map the Stars or even Declare Saint, or some additional ones that we get through future technologies and the like. That will help out with that. But of course, the first one we'll want will be expansion, as we want to try to colonize new worlds as quickly as possible. Last but not least, let's take a look at our technologies. Quantum theory for the first pick in physics is wonderful. Now, taking a look in society, this is a bit of a toss-up. Biodiversity studies would be really good because it will give us an additional 20% additional society research from researchers. But the one we want right away is this planetary unification, because it gives us plus 2 monthly unity, but also unlocks those additional edicts that I mentioned that are called campaigns. And these campaigns cost energy credits to activate. which we might not be able to use them right away, but down the road, once your energy income is a lot more stabilized and a lot more thriving, then you'll probably be more likely to use them. And then for the first engineering tech, geothermal fracking is pretty good, but we'll take powered exoskeletons first, as we do want to be able to get robots as soon as possible. Of course, on your shipyard, construct a second science ship, and then we'll try to sell off any excess resources that we have in order to try to get enough energy. Let's sell off our food. There we go. And now we've got enough energy to, to hire a second scientist. Ooh, Spark of Genius. We'll take that one. And we could probably stick him in another, in one of our main branches of research, but let's keep him in a science ship so that maybe he can get some additional perks. We'll see how that goes. Now let's take a look at the galaxy view. We're in the very southern portions of the galaxy on the inner spiral arm. I went with a 600-star 2-arm spiral galaxy with this one. Very basic setup. And we're in this portion here, so it looks like we're going to want to send a science ship up towards the northwest to explore this area over here and how far those hyperlanes go. And then we're going to want to go to the southeast towards the Shiger Nebula to see where those hyperlanes go and try to establish where the choke points are and where we're going to want to expand to. So that should be kicking off this particular save file. Let's jump ahead 20 years and see how things are going and how the Empire's expansion is going at that point. Okay, we're now 100, geez, we're now 20 years into the game. Counting is hard, apparently. And we have our second colony all online already. Survey says Edict was colonized some time ago. We already have our first building slot, and we constructed a robot assembly plant. Let's take a look back at our homeworld on Big Edict. Sure enough, we did build ourselves a temple and a robot assembly plant, which is super duper important. And we built a second civilian industry to increase the production of our consumer goods, because having all these priests on both worlds does increase our consumption of consumer goods, as they do require additional consumer goods as a form of upkeep. Now, let's take a look elsewhere throughout the Empire. In the galaxy map, you can see that we've explored in our immediate surroundings up to the northwest here. Those hyperlane areas, they kind of terminated as we got more to the northwest here. So we did have this whole region of space to ourselves. But in this particular black hole system and in this star system, we encountered some hostile targets. And honestly, it looks like it's a Marauder Empire. Having our Marauder Empire right on our doorstep as our neighbors is not terribly good, but we'll just have to make it work. So we have another colony ship flying over here into Philomere 3. Looks like it's colonizing that green world there. So this will be colonized, the colonization progress will begin on this world before too much longer, and it will be our third world, which is fabulous. And we've also explored towards the Shiger Nebula. Looks like the hyperplanes branched out both towards the outer arm in this region and down here in this region, and then going to the east, looks like we have some more space that we could expand to. Now, in theory, if we extend our borders to Farron Malba and then up into this area here, either at this star where the cursor is or to the one right above it, those would be good choke point systems to control, and then we should be able to have all of this area to ourselves, provided that there isn't another hyperlane branching off of this black hole that's over here. Plus, if we secure the Helium system as well as the Ilex system, that will lock off these areas on our inner spiral arm from any other empires that are on the outer spiral arm and kind of neighboring us. We'll also need to take either this choke point system here or this one here to simply lock off the western approach into our territory, as the hyperlanes do seem to extend further along this inner spiral arm as we continue along in this direction. So as you can see, I've kind of blobbed a little bit by grabbing certain systems in the area, but we have expanded and covered quite a bit of ground and grabbed some habitable worlds. Unfortunately, some of them aren't too great. Even our first colony, survey says Edict, it's a decent size 15, but not terribly great. However, this world here is a size 18 continental world, so that's a decent size right there. Looks like we'll get into colonization efforts underway, and we'll have a decent amount of space to ourselves once we get those online. Let's take a look at our traditions. So, as I said, we did the expansion tradition, got that done pretty early, and now we're doing the domination tradition so that we can get that bonus influence each month. Now, the first Ascension perk pick that I went with for this Empire build was Executive Vigor. This increases the duration of your edicts by another 50%. Normally, this is an Ascension perk that I simply say skip on if you're trying to min-max as much as possible, but for the purposes of this particular Empire build, it was our first pick, obviously, because it's increasing the duration of our Empire Edicts even more. So now if we go take a look at any of our Empire Edicts, with the bonuses from our other civics, which was, what was that, Imperial Cult, as well as the bonus from Executive Vigor, our edicts are now lasting 19 years in order, once we activate them. That's nearly 20 years for an Empire Edict to last and at a reduced cost. So if you think about it, our Empire Edicts are lasting almost double the amount of time that they normally would and are costing us 30% less. That is extremely efficient, and a lot of them are quite powerful. Healthcare Campaign, plus 10% pop growth speed. That's one you almost always want active. We also have Education Campaign, which could increase your leader experience gain. Increase your leader experience gain by 25% if you so chose. Recycling Campaign, something that you can kind of consider using later on as it reduces the use of your pop's consumer goods. Now there's two that definitely come up. Capacity Overload comes from the physics tree when you research, I believe it is the energy grid or the energy nexus building for your colonies, and then the other one is production targets, which you get from researching the mineral purification hub building for your colonies. These are pretty good ones to activate once you have enough influence, and taking the domination tradition tree early will definitely help with that, as each one increases the production of your monthly energy credits by 20% with capacity overload, and then production targets increases your monthly minerals by 20% for the duration of the edict. And with these bonuses, they're lasting 19 years each. They can really up the early game economy for you, allowing you to develop your colonies and expand your empire just a little bit more quickly because of those additional bonuses that you have going. Of course, a much cheaper one would be Declare Saint, increasing monthly unity by an additional 15%. Having that last for 19 years can be pretty significant. And once we secure a source of exotic gases, our exotic gases as fuel, it does cost more because our Empire Sprawl is higher, but still, plus 15% sublight speed is actually pretty good for your science ships to get around from planet to planet in the same star system just a little bit faster, able to explore and survey the surrounding territory just that much more quickly. So that's a look at how we're doing at 20 years. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 science ships out and about exploring the galaxy. Looks like we have a couple more habitable worlds down here in this system. Wow, they're a good size too. A size 21 and a size 23 continental world. We'll definitely want to colonize those ASAP. And we have a science ship down here with 2 more habitable worlds. A size 24 tundra world and a size 23 Arctic world. 2 more great prospects for colonization once we terraform them to a much more suitable climate. So let's go ahead and jump ahead another 30 years to the 50-year mark in the game and see how we're doing at that point. Okay, so here we are 50 years into the game now, and our homeworld is coming along quite nicely. I decided to focus it on civilian industries buildings, producing additional consumer goods, as we're down to only about +4 of those. Having a temple and a hollow theater on our homeworld, but probably every world as well, does cause quite a significant drain on our consumer goods each month. So I decided to stick with civilian industries on this world, and we have, as you can see, 3 additional colonies. So survey says Edict. We've got our hollow theaters, our temple, and our 2 research labs. So this is going to be a research-focused planet with agriculture districts to produce additional food due to the large amount of agriculture districts on that world. We've also got any of those edicts. This is a fairly new colony. We've already got our robot assembly plant and our hollow theaters for amenities. Going to be developing a civilian industries on this world as well. It's only a size 18 world, but we can still make good use of that. And then we've got Edicts 2, Edict Boogaloo, just a fairly new colony that we can finally upgrade to a planetary administration. and get its second building developed. Not a very big world, sorry, not a terribly productive world due to the low numbers of the 3 types of districts for producing resources. As you can see, there's only 6 generator districts, 5 mining districts, and 5 agriculture districts. So we're probably going to split up our production on this world, but it is a size 23 world, so we'll have lots of districts for city districts. That will give us a lot of housing. And one of our newer colonies, Execute Edict 66. It is currently constructing its hollow theaters and upgrading to a planetary administration. Looks like I kind of had a brain fart, and I should have gone with temples on these worlds instead of hollow theaters so that we can get us some additional society research. Don't know why I did that, but it is what it is. So other things that have happened, we've continued to expand our territory, especially to the east here. We grabbed this system of Talandra in order to start expanding into this region down here. And then we've started to go up in this direction. We were going to try and take this choke point here in this system of Wyfrid, but we ran into what looks like the second Marauder Empire right next to us. So we're sandwiched in on both sides from Marauder Empires, which isn't terribly good, but there'll be a nice buffer from other empires expanding towards our territory. We won't have to worry a heck of a lot about other empires trying to grab our space real estate. And as I said, we grabbed the Ilex system down here and the Helem system down here so that we have choke points at the hyperlane regions that connect our inner spiral arm to the outer spiral arm, and we continued expanding west just a tad. We took the Stimsys system here. That'll be a good choke point for anybody coming in from this western region over here, which continues along the inner spiral arm where we are located. Now, we grabbed all the space we could in the territory that we've cut off from everybody else. This little region up here in the northeast of our empire, that's all ours, and we've got all of this area here around where we found those 2 continental worlds in the Beer system, and we built our last couple star bases up here in the northwest. So we've grabbed all the territory that we can, and let's take a look at our traditions. We finished the domination tradition tree, and next up we're taking discovery for our 3rd tradition tree. Discovery is one of the 2 that I say get as one of your first 2 if you're trying to be as meta as possible. But as I said, since we're trying to do a special empire build, I went with domination second, and now I'm taking discovery. And for a 2nd ascension perk, I just went with Mastery of Nature, as it's a very easy pick. It helps out with the development and improvement of your colonies. Adding 2 extra districts permanently is never really something to scoff at. We still have 5 science ships flying around surveying the galaxy, and we've actually encountered an empire directly to our south, the Interstellar Thymoid Confederation. So we wanted to block them off from expanding it into quote-unquote our territory by taking that Helem system as quickly as possible so they can't expand up in that direction. And then we also found another empire up here to our northwest, the Udkavongo Mercantile Union. I can barely read that. Lucky for them, they don't have to worry about Marauder empires being anywhere near them because those are right next to us. So yeah, things are going fairly well. We're just trying to expand into our territory. We just unlocked the ability to extract volatile motes, so we want to make use of that in this Kairos system. We don't have the ability to get dark matter yet, as we have Brune's Singularity here as a source of dark matter. That'll be nice to secure that, and still working on exotic gases and rare crystals as well, being able to extract the resources from these 2 systems. But it is nice that we have a source of each of those strategic resources, which is wonderful. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Empire Edicts. As you can see, our campaigns cost quite a bit because we have our admin capacity quite high due to the number of districts we have constructed, as well as the number of star systems under our control. We still don't have production targets, I don't think, but we do have capacity overload, and our production of over 5 influence per month, because we're getting extra influence from our factions, is allowing us to re-up this pretty regularly. Right now, our edicts are lasting 20 years. We're probably getting an additional bonus from our ruler level, as I do believe the duration of edicts is increased as they increase in level. Unfortunately, we don't have another bonus from our ruler that is increasing the duration or reducing the cost of our Empire's edicts, but that's okay, because for 30% reduced cost and our edicts lasting an additional 20 years, they are doing what we intended them to do, which is helping us with the productivity of our empire and the expansion and exploration of the galaxy. We've been able to map the stars active this whole time, allowing our scientists to go out and survey the galaxy just that much faster, and they've discovered quite a significant amount of anomalies as well. So taking a look at our technologies, we're going to be able to use gas extraction wells and exploit exotic gases, making use of that source of exotic gases in the northwest portion of our territory. And we also just recently got mode stabilization, so we want to make use of that, being able to construct a mining ship around a source of volatile motes, as well as construct a mote harvesting trap on any worlds where we can. So we're largely just focusing on the usual stuff. We got xenobiology as soon as it popped up to increase our society research from our researchers. We also took applied quantum physics to increase our physics research from researchers by another 20%, and super solid materials to increase the engineering research from our researchers by 20%. We just recently got destroyers, and we took machine template systems in order to give us 2 modification points for our robots, so that we could modify them if we so chose. But that should just about sum it up. As you can see, we are expanding and exploring the galaxy at a decent rate, using those Empire Edicts where possible to help out with the various aspects that we're focusing on in the galaxy. Once we get that source of exotic gases, I'll be able to use the exotic gases as fuel edict. Once we have accrued enough exotic gases. The first time will take a while, but seeing as how the edicts are lasting 20 years at this point, it should be pretty easy to reactivate that one once it runs out, as we should have more than enough gases accrued over the next 20 years whilst we wait for that one to run out. So what happens with the Empire? Well, it's kind of up to you from this point. I understand, obviously, your game won't go exactly the same, because you'll probably start with different galaxy settings, and definitely start in a different area. Hopefully you get a much better start than I did, being, like I said, being sandwiched right in between both Marauder empires. But yeah, it's entirely up to you where you go from here. We'll jump back into the Empire summary tab so that you can take a look at it and be able to copy this particular Empire build for your own games. So I hope those of you watching this video thoroughly enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you'd like to see me do more videos such as this one throughout 2021. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and the last time I did any of them was when I was live on stream, as I had quite a bit of fun sharing those live on my Twitch. So yeah, if you'd like to see more Stellaris Console Edition content, please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload Stellaris Console Edition videos at least once a week, as since I upload them to the Let's Play Stellaris Console Edition playlist directly off of my Twitch channel, because I stream Stellaris Console Edition at least once a week. So if you want to help me out with this channel reaching 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2021, please click that red subscribe button and share this video with people who you think might enjoy it. Any of your friends that also play the game, bring them over to my channel. Maybe they'll find a video that tickles their fancy and they'll want to watch some more. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below. You'll find one to the official Stellaris Discord channel where you can become part of the greater Stellaris community. There is an entire section for Console Edition players, so you can talk about the game with other people, develop strategies, ask questions, and even set up multiplayer games. It's a very active portion of the Discord channel, so if you want to be part of a very active Stellaris Console Edition community, click that Discord invite link. You'll also find links to my Twitch channel where I stream Stellaris Console Edition at least once per week, and my Twitter feed where I post important announcements all the time. And it's a great way to keep in touch with me, so give me a follow in both locations. Last but not least, you'll find a link to my own personal Discord channel for fans of my content to freely join. It's not mandatory, but if you want to take part in the various community events that we have there, such as voting on which games from my library that I play live on stream, that's the place to be. So I hope to see you there. In the meantime, this is Mobius signing off for now, and I'll be back soon with some more Stellaris Console Edition videos. Take care, and I'll see you again next time.